Let's first of all look at his home. 62% of all black children live in a single-run household. It's a very good chance we will not find a man here. I'm going to hold off on the streets and drop down to television. Can you name me 5 positive adult black men on television outside the news? And you can't name Cosby because the show just started. Name me 5.
Outside the news?
Outside the news.
Jefferson.
And you better not say George Jefferson. But they find very few black male role models on television. Now let's drop down to the schools. 83% of all elementary school teachers are women. 95% of all teacher aides are women. And when do men teach? After the critical 4th grade, or they're in the upper grade, or they're the PE teacher, the janitor, or the principal. Very few before the 4th grade where black boys need them the most. And lastly, the church. Most young people, men, don't go to church. And the reason is we lie to them. First of all, we made Jesus Christ white. The man surely was not white. And we have a book called What Color Was Jesus to explain that. He had hair the texture of wool and feet the color of bronze. But secondly, the Lord's Prayer says on earth as it is in heaven. Young people and men want some action. They want some programs. If there are no programs in your church, they will see you later in heaven. As a result of not finding a man at home, few on television, few in school, and not wishing to attend church, the last place is the streets. And that's the problem. The streets do a very poor job making men. They do a better job making pimps, pushers, and a few basketball players. Their hero, Michael Jordan, has said there were 1 million brothers that won his job last year in the NBA. Of this million, only 400,000 will even make it to play high school ball. Of this 400,000, only 4,000 will make it to play college ball. Of this 4,000, only 35 will go to the coveted NBA. Of this 35, only 7 start. And the average life in the NBA is 4 years. You got 1 million brothers looking for 7 full-time jobs that last 4 years. This conspiracy is complex. It goes beyond the NBA. Even schools are in on it.
I'm going to throw that at you. Is the public school system doing more harm than good?
Shit, well, you know, our roots go back to the public school system. You know what I mean? As you said in one of our previous sessions, you know, that's pretty much how we met, through the chaos that was going on within the public school system. My journey in the public school system was literally one of a kind, because I left Bible college and jumped right into working for the Philadelphia School District. I hadn't finished my degree. You know what I mean? And I jumped right into this situation where things were so chaotic and there was so much turmoil and the need was so great. I ended up filling job positions where a degree was required. And nobody cared.
Yeah, if I can interrupt you for a second. Actually, I think you received remarkable accolades for doing what you did.
Mm-hmm.
And as you stated, man, that was our introduction to one another via my son.
Right.
You were assistant teacher in my son's classroom. You know, if I can just elaborate briefly, you know, the story goes is they had a narcoleptic teacher. And I didn't believe that the guy had narcolepsy, man. You know, my son and his friends kept coming to the house. They kept telling me, you know, Mr. Coulter just go right out. Like, you know what I mean? So I had a parent-teacher conference. And I witnessed him right in the middle of our conversation at the concert. He went right out, flatline. I was like, oh, snap. These kids ain't lying. Probably about a week after that, you know, my son came to me and was like, yo, you got to meet my teacher. You know, I'm like, I already met your teacher, man. He's like, no, other boy, right? He said, he be saying the same things you be saying. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is you stepped up to the plate. Not only did you step up to the plate, you stepped up to the plate and you started giving these young boys knowledge of self. And I'm talking about 6th, maybe 7th grade.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, just me to you, I thought that was dope as shit, bro.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stories that I can tell that go with that. Like, I reached the point where I had begun to garner so much attention that people in the offices outside of different schools started. Actually, what happened was I was in this one situation where I worked at a school, and on Ramadan, and just during different times of the year, I would allow the Muslim students to bring their prayer rugs to school. During Ramadan, I had opened up the whole auditorium. I convinced the principal to allow me to use the auditorium. So Muslims and Christians alike pray together in the auditorium. And news media got hold of it. And when the news media got hold of it, became an issue for me. Ultimately, put me in hot water. I end up having to have all these meetings about mixing religion and state and all this other stuff I had to answer for. Ultimately, I got suspended. And trying to think if that led to me getting terminated. Either way, they got rid of me, one way or another. And I end up suing them. This was a private agency I was contracted with in the school district. So I mean that was, that's what it led to. With the story you just told, took me through many different phases, and eventually I had to answer for it. You know what I mean? Because in this
the irony of it.
Yeah, in this one classroom, I painted the walls. I put the opposite flag on the wall. It was dope.
Oh, man.
Put a little couch bed back there so the students could sleep, meditate when they needed to. I mean, I put a juicer back there so they can make fresh juices and teas, coffee maker, video games. You know what I mean? I really set it up so it was half classroom, half home. I understood that a lot of students, even though they had houses to live in, they didn't come from homes. You know what I mean? A lot of them was going to homes where it was drug activity. He wasn't getting a good night's sleep. And so I just did things different. And like I said, man, I didn't have a degree, but I was able to occupy positions and do things on levels that got me through on the strength that I was showing results. So at your son's school, narcoleptic teacher, I think what ended up happening is because he was falling asleep in the classroom so much, I just started jumping up in the front of the class and teaching the class. And he saw that and just quit his job. Like, you got it. Just quit. So that left me basically in charge of the classroom. Like I said, principal, nobody questioned it. They actually gave me a megaphone, a bullhorn, was like, yo, just whatever you could do within the whole school. Like, they would ask me, I would hear my name over the loudspeaker, can you come to this class and this class? So your son's class ended up getting upset with me because I was getting pulled to so many different classrooms throughout the day. They end up feeling neglected. You know what I mean? I would come back to their classroom and it turned into a competition. Like, you know what I'm saying? How you gonna be out of the class all day and leave us hanging? You know what I mean? But
right.
It was amazing because when I walked through South Philly, they be chanting self-respect, self-control. You know what I mean? That came from me walking in the cafeteria, seeing students body slam each other. It was chaos, complete chaos. So I used to have them, when they get out of line, I used to have them doing calisthenics, you know what I mean? Which is something else that almost got me in hot water. They tried to charge me with corporal punishment because I was making the young boys do push-ups.
Corporal punishment, son? That's heavy right there.
Again, when they saw the results, when they saw me go into the cafeteria, it got to a point where the students was waiting for me to come in. Instead of acting crazy, I come in and everything will freeze. And I make them do competitions on each side of the room. One room would scream, one side would scream self-respect, the other one would scream self-control. It became a competition to see who could scream the loudest. That was just me using my wit to figure out how to channel their energy. You know what I mean? Without them really fully realizing what I was doing. So they couldn't resist or rebel against it. You know what I mean? But to my surprise, they end up enjoying it. It showed me that those same students that are looked at as bad, if they were open to guidance and structure when it's granted properly, you know what I mean? Beyond that, though, I will honestly say every public school I've been in, for the most part, I would recommend to parents, you're better off leaving your child at home watching TV on the Discovery Channel. As crude and abstract as that may sound, I know I might sound like I'm exaggerating. This is somebody with firsthand experience. You know what I mean? And I wasn't locked in like a lot of other teachers. They were locked in, so they had to move the way the administration told them to move. I was rebellious. I wasn't concerned about getting fired. I already felt like I wasn't getting paid properly, so I wasn't concerned about losing no money. So I went in there and I did what I felt like was necessary, especially because I can relate to a lot of the students, because I came from circumstances that they came from. Contrary to other teachers, when the school bell rang at the end of the day, they got in a fancy car and drove to Jersey or another suburban neighborhood. I was living in the same neighborhoods that I was teaching in. And sometimes that compromised my safety. You know, that's a lot of stories I can tell. For the most part, I was good. You know what I mean? But yeah, to answer the question, is the public school system doing more harm than good? Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. For me to see something good happening in the public school was an exception to the rule. Because all teachers aren't bad. There are some teachers that care. But what I saw was sheer chaos. And the students was receiving an education that parents really had no idea that they were receiving. It had nothing to do with academics. One particular classroom, my first day in the classroom, I stood at the front of the classroom and I put a trash can by my feet. I picked up the textbook and I dropped it in the trash. That created such a profound statement for the students. You know what I mean? Because I let them know up front, we're not doing this. Not what
Right.
So automatically I had their respect and their attention. It was only a matter of time before that respect and that attention turned into love. Because like you said, I was giving them knowledge of self on various levels. Your son was familiar with the 5% knowledge. I was giving them all levels. Because I basically took my studies and passed it on. Things that gave me enrichment and strength, I passed it on. I was teaching them Carter G. Woodson, Francis Cress Welsing, college material stuff. And the students that were behind, as far as the ones that couldn't read as well, I would match them up with other students, and I made the students teach the students the basics.
So I was done.
You know what I mean? The ones that were more advanced, you sit with him, you teach them how to get them caught up on how to read properly, get them caught up on basic mathematics, so we can get to the real lessons that we need to learn. You know what I mean? How to cook a decent meal, how to wash your ass, how to make a bed, how to meditate. Every morning at 8 a.m., I started out with morning meditation. Instead of jumping in right into a lesson, I gave them a chance to clear their head. Get your mind right first. So my tactics were very unorthodox and very rebellious. But now in 2020, those same tactics now are looked at as amazing. You know what I'm saying? As exceptional. Wow, look at what this teacher is doing. You know what I mean? Some of those same tactics now are respected. Back then it was foreign. So the results were respected. The tactics were catching people off guard, and it got me in a lot of hot water, but the results couldn't be denied, because Philadelphia public schools were completely, in my experience, for the most part, there were some exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, it was complete chaos and mayhem. I told you in one school, in one class I worked in, I had one student bringing crack to school, taking other students in the bathroom, smoking crack. And I'm talking students that are 9, 10, 11, no more than 12 years old.
Wow.
Smoking crack. And that's one of many stories. You know what I'm saying? And was crazy because either parents didn't have no idea or parents were too busy in their own life, dealing with their own ridiculousness or just trying to survive. Then you had some parents who just flat out didn't care. One of the things I used to do is, during lunchtime or whatever, or just as a lesson, we used to read the ingredients of whatever we were eating. And we was talking about bread. And I think, like I said, it was a big Muslim population in South Philly. So the conversation came up about different ingredients that are disguised as pork, that are pork, but named different names like mono and diglyceride, stuff like that. And I was explaining to them how bread contains most bread, if it's processed bread, contains mono and diglycerides. And this one particular student, his grandma came up to the school heated. What are you teaching my son? My son wouldn't, my grandson, she was his grandma. He came home and it was dinner time and he talking about, I'm not gonna eat no bread. She was heated, yo. I'm like, listen, fam, I didn't tell the young boy to stop eating bread. He made that decision on his own. You know what I mean? We just had a lesson where we was talking about ingredients and he started to think for himself and he made a conscious decision for himself. But it taught me something, man. Whenever you start dealing with a thought process that's waking up and freeing you from certain things, you're always gonna have people around you that's gonna try to kick you back down, pull you back down into that cage, even sometimes your own family. I thought it was amazing that the young boy took the lesson and started becoming more conscious about what he was putting in his body. He was old enough to make that decision. If he old enough where you can put him in therapy and have him taking Ritalin and all kind of other ridiculous drugs, why can't he be conscious enough to have authority over his diet and eating habits? And that's another thing in the public school system, man. It's a lot of drug abuse, as far as legal drug abuse. Drugging our kids up on Ritalin, all kind of stuff that got rat poison in it. You would never know unless you did your own independent research. But I done seen these kids in my classroom high as shit, like junkie high. You know what I'm saying? And that don't do nothing good for the other students that's in that classroom seeing that. All that does is lower the self-esteem of everybody in the classroom. When half the class nodding off high as shit. You know what I mean? And administration is so much red tape. A lot of teachers just feel helpless, man. Some teachers have a good heart. Very few teachers, because they feel helpless and exhausted, very few teachers go above and beyond. But the answer to that question is yes, man. I definitely think the public school system is doing way more harm than good. I think when you do the history of it, I think it was designed to dumb our students down, to dumb our children down.
So the way I see that is they are a part of us, and the system is definitely designed to hold us down. So why not get a super head start on that? You understand? So a couple points I took from that. The first one is you told they'd be better off letting their kids stay home and watch the Discovery Channel. I'm gonna say this about the public school system, man. Overall, it gets an F for me. Overall, having said that, my children have been in very fortunate situations, man. When it comes to the public school system, man. My son encountered teachers such as yourself. A couple other good teachers, man, really good teachers that really cared about them. You know what I mean? And they helped them transition from middle school to high school because they were so what's the word I want to use? Retarded. They were so retarded academically, man, that they couldn't make the jump from middle school to high school because they weren't prepared in middle school. You know what I mean? So they had one hell of an outreach during that transition. My daughter, I guess, is a little bit different because she's just a phenomenal student. Not that my son wasn't a great student himself, But my daughter's just like kind of like a phenomenal student, man. Like she just like is the teacher's dream. But the crazy thing is in kindergarten, man, I went to the first end of the first quarter. They didn't get report cards, so they just got like I guess a progress report. And I'm in there, and the teacher's going, she's moving around all sporadic. And my daughter says, I can't remember her name, Miss Such and Such. No, it's over here. And she looked at me and was like, I don't know what I would do without your daughter. She keeps me so together and so organized. And this was a sister. And I remember just sitting there like, so you mean to tell me a 5-year old keeps you organized at your job that you're getting paid to teach 5-year olds at? I was like, what the hell is going on here? You understand what I'm saying? Like, so the following year, she got a first grade teacher, man. You know, and I don't mind giving her a shout. Her name was Miss Keen, man. Man, love her to the moon and back, man. She actually wound up staying with my daughter to fourth grade. She demanded that she moved up every time her class moved up. So what I'm saying is there are good teachers in the public school system. I agree with you. Overall, is designed to not have our kids academically prepared for adulthood.
Mhm.
You know, and I could accompany that by saying, you know, I'm parochial school educated my whole life up until 10th grade. No, I'm sorry, until ninth grade. But at ninth grade, I went to my list of schools in my ninth grade year were West Catholic, Lamberton, Academy Park. So I went to great high schools. My mom never wanted me to go to school in the inner city. So I decided in 10th grade I didn't want to do that anymore. So I wound up going to South Philadelphia High School, man. And, you know, I remember walking in there and they gave me my roster. And on my roster, my math class was Algebra 2. That's something I had leaving 8th grade, you know, definitely in ninth grade. I already had Algebra 2, you know. Um, so I'm thinking I'm getting over like, hey, I'm not going to say anything, man. I can blow this workout and I won't have to even bend the brain cell. And it went in accordance with the rest of my class. I'd already had those classes a year to 2 years, some of them 2 years prior. So yeah, it's a big fail. It's an epic fail. I never met my counselor. I never had any college preparatory training at all. And with my academic background, I should have been like in one of those elite academies in Southern because I had all them classes, man. Like I said, a year or two prior to actually going to Southern. So yeah, on that, I agree, man. You know, they're not preparing us for life after whatever level of school they say is necessary to go out here and get a low level job.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, with my son, I think what drove him to you was not only were you giving him the lessons of the 5%, which of course he got at home as well, but I never just stopped there. You know, my whole family outside of me, my son, and my baby brother are all still Christian based folk, both sides of my family. You know what I mean? So I didn't see necessary for him not to learn that as well. Because you have to have balance. You have to have something to weigh it against. You know what I mean? And I'm not pro whatever he gravitated towards, he's gonna learn the correct understanding of. You know, so for me it wasn't like it's never a conversion, you know, method for me. I just give and share the information that I have, you know. So the fact that you went to theology school, I'm sure he picked up on. The fact that you were familiar with Islam, you know, from a Orthodox Muslim standpoint, you know, or even a Sunni Muslim standpoint, you know, all these were lessons that he got at home as well. He had already, you know. So I think that was more the connection than anything else, man. You know, I want to speak to you saying that you were using unorthodox tactics that are now pretty much the norm. So that just kind of actually shows how progressive you were. And my son is 31 now. You know what I mean?
Ah,
So we're going back, you know, very close to 20 years ago.
wow.
So, you know, how dope would it be for you to have implemented that type of learning in the school system.
Right.
You know, because the reality is you can't put 30 people together, 30 mature master degree, master level college graduates together in one setting and teach them all accurately at the same time. You know, it's too many minds. You can't touch all the minds, you know? So to do that with children, with, balanced energy and a hell of a lot of emotional and physical and what do they call it? Societal problems, you know, the stuff they going through at home. Um, Trying to get them to sit there and focus on a lesson. Only way you're gonna do that is to dope them up, man. And they're not gonna be focused at that point. They're just gonna be quiet and still. And that was the aim. Like they just want them. It to me, it kind of seemed like they were more interested in controlling the kids than teaching the kids. You know, they wanted them to have a certain image. So when certain people came around, look how good my pets are. I'm sorry, look how good the children are. You know what I mean? That seemed to be more of the of what was done. And again, I'm talking about a guy coming from Catholic school, going and suburban schools, going into the Philadelphia public school system, where literally from 10th grade to 12th grade, I'm gonna keep it a bean. I didn't learn a damn thing, you know, um, and nobody tried to teach me anything. I kind of felt like Huey Freeman of the Boondocks, man. You know what I mean? He speaks so well. You know what I mean? And it just bugged me out. Leap forward to this summer. Uh, Ran to a couple high school friends of mine. You know, we play ball every Sunday. Well, I don't really get out there no more, but it's still a good time. And we get to talking, and some of these guys, I was like, why didn't y'all go further in school, man? Y'all got 4-year scholarships and stuff like that. Man, you'd be surprised, man. Two of them dudes told me they couldn't pass the SAT.
Mm.
I was like, why y'all ain't holler at me? You know what I mean? You know, the rules weren't as stringent back then. I said, I'd have walked in there, I'd have got y'all in college, man. That'd have been nothing. I'd have took the SAT for y'all. But, it just kind of shows you another twist to it that if you're an athlete, you can be just kind of like pushed through.
Oh
They're
yeah.
not worried about teaching you. They're worried about monetizing off of whatever it is you're doing.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I guess we covered that because that goes to the administration. At the school level, my daughter had a dynamite principal. My son had a dynamite principal. You know what I mean? It was Mr. Parker was the principal, right?
Nah, when I was there, it was some lady. She was new, and she wasn't even from Philly. She was from Jersey.
Right. Was Mr. Parker there?
I don't remember Mr. Parker. I just remember this one lady, black lady.
Yeah, I remember her too. I can't remember her name, but I think Mr. Parker wound up taking over for her because she didn't seem to be that engaged. To be honest with you,
Okay.
you know what I mean. When I talked to her,
She was totally not engaged.
yeah, I want to rephrase and say maybe she was overwhelmed. She from Jersey, dude. She from the suburbs. She ain't used to this shit, man. You know, she wasn't used to she didn't know what she was walking into. I'm sure.
Right. Most of the teachers were white people that was fresh out of college. Mostly white women fresh out of college, had no clue of what they was dealing with.
Right. Now the other thing I want to say about that is, speaking on that, is my daughter. She had some good white teachers too, but one of her white teachers who was really engaged with the kids, I would argue heavily to say that she was an extreme cokehead, cuz
Oh yeah. So
I could just look at her and see her reactions and
yeah.
what she was totally engaged during that time she had them in the classroom.
Listen, man, that ain't the half.
Oh, I know. Listen,
we got
I sold coke to white people, man. I already know.
we got this automatic impression that teachers are a certain type. You know what I mean? And trust me when I tell you, yo, it's the complete opposite for a lot of people. I mean, of course, it's not like that for everybody, but yeah, some of them teachers was in the stuff that had you like, yo, these the same people that wake up in the morning and teach our children. You got to be
Same one. Yeah.
That's why I was care. I didn't care, man. You know what I mean? You gotta think I think I was about, man, I think I was about 21, 22. So I was like,
Nah.
I was completely rebellious, man. I was in that state where, you know what I'm saying, I was waking up on a whole different level too.
Right.
I had no care or concern about consequences. None.
There are no mistakes in life, sir. And you were on the correct path that you're supposed to have been on for that in itself right there. And I can personally vouch for the impact that you had on them young boys because I still see a lot of them to this day.
Mm.
You know, and they all know Mr. Keller. They all know TK. You know what I'm saying? You know, you had rap battles with them in class and everything, bro. Listen, man, I got a couple stories myself. You know, but what people don't understand is, you know, how much of the English language you actually learn,
Right.
how much English you actually learn from
Yep.
just putting a rhyme together.
That's right.
You know, so I'm talking about, structure. I'm talking about tense. I'm
Yes.
talking about totally abusing tense on purpose.
Yes.
You know, I'm talking about, you looking for words that you normally don't use in everyday conversations
Yes.
because you want to hit somebody with something that make them go, "Oh, he ain't just say that." Yeah, I said that. How he know about that? Looked it up last night, my guy. You
Mm.
know, so yeah, man, listen, I salute, bro. You know what
Word.
I'm saying? Salute.
I
No,
appreciate that. Yeah.
nah, man, I appreciate you, man. Like I said, my son was one of your students, man. Real rap, man. I appreciate you.